Coaches News Conference on KLPS TV is brought to you by Hawthorne Bank, a proud sponsor of Liberty School District. At Hawthorne Bank, we understand the importance of strong community in a strong school district. We also understand the importance of strong financial future for our school district's families and for our local businesses. Hawthorne Bank, with you every step. And by Jackson Hewitt. For all your tax needs, personal or business, rely on tax professionals at Jackson Hewitt and Liberty, a full-service tax preparation professional. Jackson Hewitt.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Liberty and Liberty North football press conference. I'm Coach Clemens, head football coach for Liberty North Eagles. This week we played a scrappy Truman team in the rain on a Saturday morning. We came out with a 12-6 win. Our offensive player of the game was Nick Hess, who was also our defensive player of the game. And our special teams player of the game was Chris Holden. I'd like to open it to questions.
How did the Saturday morning game affect you guys as far as not playing on Friday night?
How did the Saturday morning game affect us? We talked before the game on Friday night when we thought it was happening that the team that wins the game in the rain is the team that's mentally toughest, that doesn't allow the elements to affect them, and we had the same issue the next morning with the reschedule of the game, to be able to refocus and get yourself ready to go again. Our kids approach things with a workmanlike attitude, and they're not really too affected by their surroundings or when they play, and that's kind of the way we've tried to train them to be, and we're glad that they've adopted that personality, and I think they did a good job of handling the change in schedule.
Was there any reason given for the cancellation of the game on Friday night? Obviously it was rain. It looked like it was going to be rain for quite a while.
What was the reason for the cancellation? I mean, it was the inclement weather. It was the rain. We were the only team in the city the only game in the city that was postponed. It must have been raining harder in Independence than it was everywhere else. How do we plan to prepare for Fort Osage? We know that they have a great deal of team speed. They're extremely well coached. They're defensively and offensively. I'm a pretty boring coach, I think, when I answer those questions, because it basically just comes down to blocking and tackling, like it does every week, no matter who we play. We have to get better at doing what we do against what they do, and hope that we block and tackle better than they do.
Are you looking to step up in this upcoming week?
Who are we looking for to step up in the upcoming week? Jace Wilhite will be back from an injured shoulder, and we look for good things from him. Sam Eisenhut will be back in full speed from a concussion. We expect him to step up. Those are both defensive players that we've been playing without. Offensively, Nick Hess carried the ball for us a lot against Truman, and we expect to have to spread that ball around a little bit again on the offensive side. So, there's a lot of we need everybody to step up, because Fort Osage has a good football team. They just beat Blue Springs South, and they've beaten Park Hill South. So we know that our work is cut out for us.
We talked a little bit about Antoine Beaver's injury.
A little bit about Antoine. He injured his toe over the summer, and he re-aggravated it in the Truman game. It sounds like something that wouldn't be that big of a deal. You hurt your toe, but turf toe can be a really serious injury, and it's a really painful injury, and it's not something you want to mess with. So when he re-aggravated it in the game on Saturday, we pulled him out, and we kept him out of the game for 3.5 quarters. He basically played half of the first quarter, and then he sat. And then he told us his toe was okay, and we put him back in the fourth quarter, and he got a long touchdown run for us to seal the game. So You know, we know that in the long haul, Antoine's going to be okay, but we need to be careful with his toe and his playing time.
Being 2-0 in the season, how do you keep your team level-headed? Like keeping your team level-headed.
How do we keep them level-headed? You know, I think that our kids are, like we said earlier, they just approach it all with a workmanlike attitude. I think that our coaching staff has instilled that in them. They don't get too excited about winning, and they don't get too up or down about much of anything. They just come and work, and we're not worried about the big head thing. And I think that our kids know that every week is a new challenge, and you know, when you're guaranteed to be the smallest school in every game that you play, I think that you've got that underdog thing going, and it doesn't matter, you know, how many games you've won. You know, the next week you're going to be the underdog. So it's no different this week.
Well, for Fort Osage game, is there anything this week you're focusing on more than other weeks?
For the Fort Osage game, is there anything we're focused on more than other weeks? You know, our week's worth of practice is pretty much the same every week. Now, what we take out of those practices to the game on Friday night changes from week to week. We're going to, you know, we're going to try to anticipate that we may have to throw the ball a little bit more. They're an excellent run-stopping defense, and they're very aggressive against the run. So, you know, we're going to continue to focus on throwing the ball during the week, and then see on Friday night how that whole thing unfolds. You know, in the big picture, what we do is we line up and see if we can run the ball on somebody, and if we can't, then we try something else. And you know, that's pretty much the way it's going to be offensively. Defensively, we've got to stop their quarterback. You know, he's a heck of a runner with the football, and he's an accurate passer. You know, our defense has done an excellent job so far. We've given up 100 yards in each of the first 2 games is all. We gave up 5 first downs against Truman, and 3 of those first downs were a result of defensive penalties. So we're doing well defensively, but you know, we need to turn our focus to their quarterback on the defensive side.
Will you talk to us a little bit about Nick Hess's performance on both sides of the ball?
Nick Hess is he's a self-made man. You know, he's a kid who gained a lot of weight in the off season, and he did it through hard work, and as a result, he's playing really well. He had a lot of good plays and was in the right place where he was supposed to be defensively. And when Antoine got hurt, you know, Ryan Sidoti was our second string tailback, but he is injured. Richard Richardson is our third string tailback, but he was sick. So we went with Nick Hess, who is our short yardage back, and we used him. You know, he's basically, in the big picture, he's our fourth alternative at tailback, and he came in and ran for 100 yards. You know, so he did a great job of protecting the football in the rain. He averaged about 6 yards a carry. You know, he got about close to 20 carries. He was a workhorse. He played every down on defense, carried the ball for 100 yards. And as our fourth, you know, when you get down to your fourth choice at tailback and you're still able to move the ball and win a football game, that's a testament to how tough Nick is and how well our offensive line is blocking.
Is there any added pressure with this coming Friday's game being on KLPS and KSML and Fox Sports?
Is there any added pressure with it being on TV? You know, thing that we told the kids, you know, before we played Saturday morning is you know, if we could play every game at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning with just mom and dad there watching, that would be my ideal situation. You know, we want to compete for the opportunity to compete, and we like to work and struggle and suffer through the week to get better, and then go out on a Friday night or a Saturday morning or whenever we get to play and just go out and compete. You know, it being on TV, you know, we've talked about it with the kids, and I really don't get the sense that our kids are front runners or glory seekers. You know, I think that they're workers, and you know, I'm hopeful that the game getting some attention doesn't affect the way that they play. I don't think it'll be a distraction for them.
What do you anticipate to be the biggest challenge Friday?
The biggest challenge Friday night will be Fort Osage. I mean, you know, it's another week of playing a team that's extremely well coached. You know, I think that you know, the football is getting really good in the Kansas City area, and it just keeps getting better. Fort Osage, I've personally coached against Ryan Sharts 5 times in the last 8 years, and you know, we've won 1 and lost 4 against them. And defensively, they are just extraordinarily well coached. They're always in the right place. They play physical. They hit you. They're clean tacklers. Offensively, they're a well-oiled machine every year. It doesn't matter who wears that black helmet. They're good football players every year. So, you know, we're going to have our work cut out for us, definitely, in trying to move the ball and trying to stop them. And they're also excellent on special teams every year. You know, so they're as good a football team as we'll see this year. There's no doubt about that.
How's our special teams looking this year as we move forward, like you mentioned?
Well, how our special teams looking? You know, we had a pretty good morning Saturday morning. We blocked an extra point. The first week we did give up a punt return for a touchdown, which was, you know, something that just can't happen. You know, it was just kids running out of their lanes, making bad decisions about where to run down the field. You know, it was just a huge mental error on several kids. But overall, you know, our kicking game, our punting game is going well so far. Our kicker, Raul Garcia, is punting the ball well, and he's kicking the ball well. Big picture, you know, anytime you've given up a touchdown on special teams out of 2 days, once in 2 games, that's too much. So, you know, we'll clean that up.
Coach, what do you do to cut down on penalties? You said you have 3 defensive penalties on Friday.
Well, you know, what do we do to cut down on our penalties? You know, we're walking a fine line. You know, the great thing about our kids is that I think that they've identified what has held us back from being an excellent, really good football team the last couple years. And really what that is we kind of lacked a little bit of toughness and a little bit of aggression. And I think that our kids have taken that, and they've taken it as their personal quest to overcome that. And as a result, we are getting penalties. You know, we gave up 1 touchdown to Truman, and it was a 19-play drive in which we committed 5 defensive penalties. 3 of those were on 4th down that gave Truman the 1st down. So, you know, we're looking at 2 pass interferences, a face mask, a roughing the passer, and an offsides. We actually had more penalty yards in the game Saturday morning than Truman had offensive yards. And, you know, that's something that we need to work on, definitely. A couple of the problems that we're having, when we get big plays on offense, we're being too aggressive downfield, and we're blocking in the back. Some of them are getting called, some of them are getting missed. But we've got to lay off down the field when we get big plays on offense. And, you know, and then there's some other little things that are happening, like, you know, we had an injury wide receiver, Peyton Reed was out, so sophomore position he was playing on offense, and thought he was the Z receiver when he was actually the X receiver, you know. And just little things like that are happening, or you know, are the result of poor coaching and over aggressiveness by our kids, and we need to clean both of those up, definitely. All right, thanks for being here this morning. I'd like to turn it over to Coach Freegon.